Ça marche? Yep. Okay, so welcome everyone. What we're gonna do here today is not really have a talk. Well, I'm gonna talk for like about 5 minutes, and then we're gonna do a conversation together. So it's gonna be fun. I hope it's gonna be interesting. I'm sure. So I'm Kris. I work at Gitcoin. That is not important, but because they are my employer, this is like this moment I have to say I'm Kris and I work at Gitcoin. No, just kidding. So I work at Gitcoin and I do DAO operations at Gitcoin, which is a pretty intense job, and I love it. But with like, you know, there's always like a shadow side to like being on all the time, and I kind of wanted to talk about that today. So I am a burnout expert in the sense that I like lived this already a few times, and I wanted to talk today and have a conversation about like how we can avoid burnout within the space. So the first part is me just like going through some quick slides, and the second part is a fishbowl. So what is a fishbowl? You see here these 5 chairs, and we will have this rotating thing if enough people participate, which I really hope. So we'll see if that works, and I'll explain in a second. So why do I want to talk about this? Honestly, not just because I care about people, which I deeply do, but I really, really care about the mission of what we are trying to achieve here with Ethereum or with any blockchain. I'm not really like a maximalist in any of these things, but I really believe that the mission, building a truly decentralized, censorship-resistant, open-source programmable internet, is really important. And in order to do that, we need to make sure that we are resilient, that we do not crash and burn all the time. We should like take care of ourselves, and that's so important. And I think there's a whole lot that we can do. If we don't do this, it is just so easy to take us down. And you know, this is the beginning of a fight. We're not fighting yet. We're still playing. Soon, this will be a fight against the powers that be, the systems that exist, and we want to change a lot of things. So this will get serious more and more over time, I do believe. And if you are not feeling strong and empowered and grounded and balanced, things are more difficult to actually really stand your ground. And we need that because the mission matters. So on that, this is not resilient because, there we go. Yeah, so I gave a presentation actually exactly 1 year ago here at ECC. There's just like a visual from it where I talked about everything that has to do with things that could make us fail. I'm a doom thinker. I love talking about everything that could go wrong. And when I started, when I was here last year, I just took a break because I was working at the Common Stack, and before that at Giveth, and I was also like giving it my all and going really hardcore. And again, like I felt that my energy was going down, and so I decided, okay, I'm gonna take a break from this project because I feel all the signs, and I'm gonna take some time to regenerate before I crash and burn again. And I'm really, really happy that I did this. And the only thing I think I stopped working in January. I took a break for like five or 6 months. And then the only goal I had was I'm gonna give this presentation at ECC, and I did, and I had a whole lot of fun. And it was about it's on the ECC's YouTube channel, and it's about like all the things that we need to think about in this space. But why do I mention this? It's because the way that I was feeling at that moment is different from now. So like I was very energized, I was re-energized, and I was ready to like go back into the battle. So I was really happy I did this. Today I'm actually not, if I'm like completely honest. Like I was actually on the verge of like canceling this talk because I felt a little bit burned out. But then I was like, that's funny. Like I definitely need to go now and talk about this. I really often feel exhausted at Gitcoin. And I don't think we talk enough about this in the space. Like we all just like are very enthusiastic about our projects, but it is just like intense. And we need to acknowledge this and talk more about this more. Like I think it's really important to show our vulnerability. So yeah, so that's why I was like, I'm going to present. I want to talk a little bit more about this. So yeah, it's like, DAO life. Like I was going to join, and I decided that actually a day after ECC, I was like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna join Gitcoin, and that was like just after they announced like, okay, we're going also to become a DAO, and that was like, okay, there's all sorts of extra craziness coming my way now, and of course it did. I worked in decentralized organizations before. Giveth and the Common Stack are like DAOs before DAOs existed, but like what always comes with this DAO life, this is just like three things that quickly roll up. Like, yeah, it's always on, it's 24/7. We have fractional roles. Many people work in multiple DAOs. We work from home, but we work remote. So we're in different time zones. There's all these conferences. There's a lot of travel. There's not a lot of stability. So this gets really intense. And so I recently read an article that for me really resonated on. It was about the fact that like we're still like I'll comment. It's a lot of reasons I think that also people come into the Web3 space is because people get emotionally drained from their jobs and physically drained, and there's a burnout epidemic. And so it is funny that when you think on like the causes of burnout, one in this article that I read, they said like the issue when it comes to burnout is very often that you start completely identifying with your job, and it's all about like your job, and more is demanded, and you like are always talking about your job. Well, guess what? Like in Web3, it's even a little bit more like that. We are literally wearing the t-shirt there and here. So like, we are our DAO, we are our jobs. And so this scares me a little bit. So three random things that are often said about like, okay, what, and that I got from this particular article that resonate with me. Some typical things for burnout is like, you feel exhausted. You can't really like keep up with this energy, but you keep pretending because it's your identity, your job, you have to continue. You start getting cynical, so you get frustrated more with colleagues. You are a little bit like shorter in responses, etc. I see myself doing that often. You feel that you're never doing enough, and so you feel inefficient. And if you miss a ball, like you start feeling useless, etc. So these are some of these things that happen, and these are very much like alarm signals. So this was actually in my slides last year, and it's no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. So that is a reason why a lot of people like exit the existing legacy system and want to build a better system, because our current system doesn't work anymore. But words build worlds, and the practice what you preach and all these things. If we want to build a better and a healthier society, then we also really have to build that in the way that we work together. So let's not build a new sick society, please. That is basically the thing. So with that, we're almost at like the interactive, the conversation I want to have here. And so for me, when I took a break before and I wanted to regenerate, the things that helped me most was first of all like bringing structure in my day again, and I think we can also do that while working and not while already crashing. So structure and a certain cadence. So that is so underestimated and underrated. It does a lot. Just like it's really simple. And my mom and dad always told me like just get up at the same time and like get up early. I don't think you need to get up early. I still don't. But like I get up at the same time every morning and I go to bed at the same time. The structure helps. And like saying, like, for example, I go out in the morning, I have my breakfast, I go out in the morning outside, even if I have no errands to do. And I work from a certain hour to a certain hour. Another thing, like also a time that I go offline, that one I'm often failing at. Movement. So yeah, going outside, doing sports help so much, even if it's just like going for a walk, just like keep on moving. And the third one is connection. So a first thing when I think of connection is like connection with yourself. So like I meditate daily, that helps me a lot. Just like some breathing exercises to just like ground myself, but just as much connection with others. So just like reach out when you're not, oh, battery's running low, it's perfect. This is just perfect. Yeah, even the laptop is burning out. But it's fine because it's the last slide. And yeah, and so that the second one is connection with other people. Like you can always ask for help. You do not have to hesitate to reach out. You have your friends, but you can also talk to your colleagues, etc. Just signal when things are rough. I think it's like really important, and we don't do it enough. And I think actually, yeah, that is the last slide. So perfect that my laptop is about to die. We are very much alive. So what I would like to do is now play the Fishbowl game. And so these are the things that work for me. But I would like to know like what works for you. So how are we going to do this? This is a fishbowl, and there are 5 chairs. And so the idea is like it cannot get too crowded in the fishbowl. So we are the fishes, and there should always be one chair that is empty. So the idea is like you come up and we have a conversation about this, and there should always just be one chair empty. That is the simple rule. So like if more people join, then you will feel that the fishbowl is a little bit crowded, and then one person gets up and you can come back. But the idea is that we just have a conversation. And I want to know what you think, if this resonates, and how you regenerate. So welcome to join me. Who has some tips or some thoughts about this? Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
We know each other, but I want to do that with everyone. Go ahead.
He paid me to come and talk. So that's very interesting. I kind of like had a similar, I guess, episode last year. And so it really made me think about what recharges me, but also how to not get there. So you said things about movement, like it's for me, I keep telling people like find whatever sport activity that you enjoy. It doesn't have to be, because we're nerds, we're engineers, we try to find the perfect thing. Like whatever it is, can be yoga, can be golf, I don't care. I love kickboxing. I realize that's what works for me. I tried a bunch of things. Kickboxing is the one that just like, I feel like I'm sweating my problems away. I'm punching them away. I feel more relaxed. Whatever problem that I think I have before that 1 hour, like they're not so important after that. Meditation definitely helps. I think therapy is also very important. In any sense, if anybody does serious meditation, they should always do therapy. And if anybody teaches you meditation, doesn't talk to you about therapy, run away. So those are the two things. But I think also on a more like long-term basis, that's kind of like the day-to-day, but learning to say no to things. That's it's a hard thing for me, and the learning comes like it's hard because maybe you feel like overdoing it at the beginning, but probably you're probably not overdoing it. So learning to say no is a big part of it. I guess if you got those 3 things sorted out, you're already in a good place. Learning to just chill, That's important.
Definitely. So I definitely agree with basically everything what was said. So it's kind of hard to come up with something new, but like I might touch upon more the structure actually. That's what. So I do sports. It helps, it relaxes and so on. But to have the structure in the day and have time for those kind of stuff, like secured, it's super important for me. I know when like I'm kind of starting to doing everything and nothing, there is no structure. I just need to finish stuff. I just don't have any plan how to do it. It's just spending hours and hours and hours of working. I'm not efficient at all. I'm exhausted and so on. So then I kind of trying to make a step back and like say, okay, like I cannot work 24 hours. Like this is my working time, this is my sport time, and this is how it will be every day. And magically, I have more energy and more stuff gets done. And like, I think if you are working in a DAO and like it's chaotic very often, like you need to find your structure in that like chaos which is within the DAO. Like you cannot change the DAO itself, but you can change yourself. It's kind of my view on that.
Yeah, we can talk more about like our the personal things as well, but what you're just saying there about like we cannot change the DAO itself, but we are the DAO. I think we can change the DAO to some extent, right? You're literally the DAO. So like I do wonder like if there's like structural changes that we should, or like structures that we should have within a DAO to really take care of people. And like, yeah, for example, we have like a people operations department, we have a professional development budget, but it's mainly professional. But like, I kind of wondering like how, except for having like an HR department, what else can we do? Are there specific things that you think of that we can change in a DAO to actually make it us more resilient? And like, yeah, any thoughts on this? And by the way, so we have still room in the fishbowl, so if you have thoughts or other questions, feel free to come up. Anyone any thoughts? Oh. Non, donc tu peux éteindre. Oui, ce serait génial. Merci.
Hi. So I haven't found the solution for me to share. I've burned out for the past year and a half, but I keep pushing through. The one thing that does work for me though, is whenever I know it's not going well, and I just sit in the office and I'm there till like 1, 2 in the morning, just stop and then start the next day. Just don't keep trying to push through, because actually you're wasting more energy and it's going to make your code worse. So just deciding when to stop and then start the next day, I've found to be one of the habits that work for me. Well, coming from a guy that still has burnout, but yeah.
Yeah, to basically your comment about like we are the DAO. I think we always should start with ourselves, because not something what works for me might not work for you, in that sense. But we should kind of hear the people within our community, like what's the kind of like middle ground maybe, so how we can enable that personal structures, not to force structure. I personally don't like when like we are trying to force something that it will make your life better. Like that's my opinion, but like it might not. I like more like the approach. Okay, like what kind of works already for everyone? Let's maybe like try to implement it within our DAO. So we like enable what it's already working. It's kind of, but how to do it, it's the hard part. And especially if there are like large communities, like very diverse, like that's something what we will be probably still kind of testing, and we should be testing it, and we should, experiment and then stick to something what it's improving our lives.
So this question makes me think about some, you said like, in the DAO, you're 24/7, right? And then when you can't, when you're holidays, then what does that mean in terms of like pay? So then people don't do it, like in terms of like stability. Most people usually in DAOs have more like a consultant kind of structure. But then what does it mean like if you get sick? Or like if you want to start a family, if you're going to have a kid, you become pregnant, you hurt yourself, like there are lots of questions. And I think some people are doing interesting work, but it's still very early. But it does raise the question. I mean, in our case, we were thinking about, we had some type of like UBI kind of structure that was probably half baked, but the intention was there. But then like there's the difference between, okay, you make like a full open structure where literally you can have 100 people collaborating a little bit and bringing what they need at the moment. And then another model where it's like, okay, we're going to take care of like 10 people that are more like employees. But then like the barrier for people to come in has to be harder because there's a limited amount of money to be able to pay them, right? So then how do we do? Do we do like a task force based system? But maybe there should be external structures with some kind of like union or something that just takes care of people that work in DAOs, more like consultant. But then when people take a break, they are taken care of. But then how do we manage that? So there are lots of questions and lots of experiment to be done, and I would love to see more of that happen. But we'll try things. We'll see what works. But we have to be careful also because this is literally people's lives, And sometimes you don't feel safe because you don't know how to pay rent, or you don't know what's gonna happen next month. And it's your health, it's your safety. So that aspect, the survival mode thing, most people don't realize that, but I know at some point I more or less worked unpaid on a project for like 1 year. It was my own project, so I wanted to do it, but I realized after a while that was the wrong way of doing it, that I needed to create, in my case, 30% of safety, meaning getting paid 30% of my time so that I can like just chill, because otherwise I'm not able to give full energy into those things, because I'm always worried about the next month, the next 2 weeks. So how can we create more safety for people, but at the same time stay modular? And we probably have a lot to learn from the default world, but also lots of place to experiment and maybe try to do things better.
Sorry. So we kind of came up with a solution for this. So all of the consultants get holidays. They also get sick leave. Enso Finance. Yeah. We also do, people work super hard up until, let's say, a feature or a certain production release is there. Then we discuss beforehand who will take holidays immediately afterwards, and then who will not. So for example, we've got 4 front-end devs, 2 will still stay for the first 2 weeks after the release for bug fixing. The other 2 will then go and take a vacation. And then the other 2 come back and rotate. They're paid fully during this time as well, so they also have the security. But this concept of pushing very hard up until a certain point and then just taking a holiday, we found within our team, people really enjoy this. So they can see there's a light at the end of the tunnel for where they can relax afterwards. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And do you have like a fixed number of days of vacation? Because I do wonder, like, because that's the thing I wonder about.
So it's 25, but we had one guy who needed to take a longer vacation. So he took 3 months vacation actually, and he was paid for this time. It's very dependent upon the situation. We also don't have like a formal way of approvals for holidays. We just have a Discord channel and people say, hey, I'm going to take tomorrow off. I need to take some rest. Or even in the morning, they say, hey, I need to go and do this. For example, one guy, he's moving into a new apartment in our team. So he just said, hey, today I'll be out for 5 hours. It's a lot of trust. Like you said earlier, the process of kind of getting in is a little bit more difficult than, let's say, a traditional DAO. There's about 5-6 steps before they're even given a job offer, because it's a lot of trust. But by doing this, people feel a lot more safe and secure because they don't need to worry about this managerial approval process. And they can say, hey, I'll just take today off, and then they do it. Yeah. Yeah,
I think like having a bit of a process in place for that is just like crucial. And I think there's a lot, I think you mentioned as well, like you need to find this balance between like having a flexible and experimental sales system that's very modular, but at the same time seeing what we can still like take from what we can learn from companies and from how organizations did it before us and what definitely doesn't work. And like if you see, for example, the Silicon Valley mentality, most of the companies have like, you can take endless vacation. It's not, but then because of that, people don't take any vacation because they're like, yeah, everyone else is working, I can't do it right now. And that leads to burnout. So like, it's actually better to have vacation and to basically almost tell them like, yeah, well, you have to take your vacation because you haven't taken any vacation. Like I have nothing here in there. And like, it helps to have some structure around that. And I think it's a thing that we're missing. And yeah, every organization should have some people who are taking care of people. Like it's my favorite invented word. It's just like, we need people. We need lots of people. And creating that safety, as you mentioned as well. Like we just need people to feel safe and not be in survival mode. They're not even going to show it when they're in survival mode, but I think very often people are. They might not know. Yeah, they might not know. You just like do it instinctively. Yeah. you just like keep going, and then afterwards it's like, yeah, I was like not sleeping anymore. And that's what I had like when I was working in companies before, and I was just like, I was using sleeping pills, etc., just like to make it through the night. And I was like, no, I cannot afford to not sleep this now, because I have to keep going and keep going. And like, you don't realize how fucked up that actually is. And yeah, so there's a lot to be done there. And I totally lost my train of thought there. So,
Sorry. And how would have someone helped you in that situation? What would you have wanted looking back? Somebody dedicated, or yeah?
yeah, definitely like having someone that I could take into confidence, and I didn't have that. But even when I was talking to that person, I did realize that I was going into full. I heard myself talking, and I thought, like, God, you're such a drama queen here. Why are you exaggerating so much? But it was just because I was like, the thing they said about breaks, I was just like not taking breaks. I went over my limits nonstop. It was just a habit to go over my limits. And so then you don't think straight anymore. And so like that person was also like just like looking at me with big eyes and like, oh yeah, you need to rest. I was like, I don't have time to rest. So that is because I didn't feel that safety. So like having a professional environment where the structure is there, and when that safety is created through true structure, but also to like having the right people who like give you the right vibes of like, there is deep trust here, and you can take a break. It's okay. And like specific to go a little bit back to DAOs, etc. What I think already helps us in Gitcoin, because Bukar also works in Gitcoin, is that we have been working on having good role descriptions and domains where people are responsible for. Because I heard someone say, someone it wasn't in Gitcoin, but in general, like last week, about like, I'm not sure if I take a break now, if in 3 weeks and I come back, that my job will still be there. And that is so crazy, like, because there's this tyranny of structurelessness, and people are just like, oh, there's no structure, and like now there's this power vacuum, and I'm just gonna go for it. And like that feeling that someone could just like go for your job, it's not good. Like that should just not exist. And if you have like clear roles and responsibilities and tasks and projects, then you can say like, okay, yeah, I work towards finishing that project, and then I take this break, and everyone knows that this is my role. I think it's a really important one for any organization to have. Yeah.
I actually really like the point about the vacation. I think, this kind of unlimited vacation is really a trap. Because, yeah, you can take vacation anytime, but let's not do it this week. And like what I think like what is worse maybe even like in the crypto space than like in the traditional, like the FOMO kind of like you said, like that people are scared that the job won't be there, but also people are scared that they will miss on some great opportunity in crypto, and they just online all the time because like there might be some airdrop or something like that. And it's really exhausting. Like I'm not airdrop farming, but like I cannot imagine like being checking like 30 Discord just for kind of informations and so on. And there are so many people of that like that, and I think we should change that. Like we should think like what actually this kind of incentive mechanisms we have in place actually like doing to people even before we actually even launch those incentives. And that's probably somewhere where like the DAO and the protocols like can give more thoughts to it, like okay, like this is actually creating something in the space like burnouts, like exhaustion and so on, what we can do better. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Crystal. I'm a journalist. I have to say that. I'm a journalist.
Okay.
Yeah, and I just started in October And I went from like an 8-hour gig, you know, where I was covering traditional finance, where like markets actually close, to like 24/7 bankruptcies and just like filing after filing. And the one thing that struck me while listening to y'all guys is, you know, as a journalist, I like pretty much am embedded in my own system. Everyone I talk to is talking about the same exact thing. They operate in the same exact way. And it's that like fear of missing out. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna beat that person. Oh, is this person over here doing something? I can't take a break just in case, you know? And I was just wondering, like, do y'all have a group of people where you can escape from? Like, I hang out with homeless people, old people, and children because they tend to not know anything about crypto or want to know about capital markets. And that lets me re-energize. That fixes my brain into thinking about different things, not about this. And then it makes me better. It makes me better looking at the problem because I just got away from it all. And I just wondered about y'all's experience. Like, do you guys have a group of people who are just completely not connected into your world?
I'm a bad example. I talk crypto all the time. And maybe it's also because like my upbringing, like my family, it's like they are business owners, family business. So we live our business kind of as a family, and I'm not involved anymore, but you know the business still going on. So I'm kind of used to it. Like what you are actually working, that's also kind of your life, because of the structure of family business. Basically, that's what like connecting us and what like bringing the money to family and everything. Everything is basically going around it. But I agree. Like sometimes we need to just chill. And really bad example. So I took like a trip to Europe now before ECC, and I was at my family, but I haven't took like a day off. And it was like because like there was always something to do. I had something at it going, some other projects going on, and I was like, okay, I don't need really take like too much time off. I can just like join my parents for dinner or something, and I realized like it's not worth it. I should have just like taken like day 2-3 like off. The projects will be there when I return. Like nothing will happen to them, and just like spend more time with like family, and I think it was just good lesson learned for me.
So long story short, no.
You guys have friends.
all my friends are in crypto. And I think it comes back to this idea of FOMO. If you are not surrounded by people that are involved in crypto, you may lose an opportunity. Every single day, it's Telegram, it's Discord, it's WhatsApp, it's WeChat, Twitter, it's everything. Oh, it's everything. Yeah. So for me, it's my nephews. So I'll go and see them maybe once a weekend or once every 2 weeks. And it's great. They don't even speak the same language as me. So I can't even speak about crypto to them, whether they would like it or not. I think this industry is so focused on FOMO, and it wasn't like this 6 years ago. This is only in the past like 2 years. SCC 3 years ago didn't even have side events. So now that you've got 4 or 5 events a night, this is showing kind of more people, more alpha that you can obtain in this industry. And if you don't surround yourself by these crypto people or influencers or whatever you call it, you will lose an opportunity. So I think we need to change this as an industry, but I think with more people coming in, it gets even more difficult to be able to change this, because this is kind of the trend that we're on now. Yeah.
Hello. So first, I want to say I went to your talk last year. And before it, I was literally in bed thinking, I cannot do another thing. I cannot care anymore. I don't want to go to this talk. It's at like 6 p.m. Screw it. This is the last thing I'll do, and then I'm going to quit my job. And so your talk actually was like, it was exactly what I happened to need to hear at that moment. So thank you for that. But something that I've been thinking about a lot, like kind of since then, is that like we're all really committed to like building these systems that we hope and imagine will create a better world for people to live in. But like, who are those people? And like, why isn't it us? Like, I think it can be really difficult to remember to also like to live in the world, and that we're participating in these things like not just because it's a responsibility, but because we think that they will make people's lives better, and that like we sort of like we all deserve to have that also apply to us. And that like these I don't know, that these tools and these connections and all of this stuff should be also stuff that's sort of feeding back to us. And it's just really easy to forget that and get wrapped up in this feeling of responsibility. And then, sorry, this is becoming a really long thought. But I think like with DAOs or with a lot of these systems, we've done a good job of like distributing benefits and distributing power to a wide range of people, but we've done less well at distributing responsibility. So people feel sort of entitled to this stuff, or they feel like users of these things, and that like in order for them to really have meaningful impact, and this is a huge difference from the way that sort of like what we call the real world works. I hope that doesn't remain the real world forever, but like that these things don't actually work in the long run unless everyone sort of takes responsibility for their part of it, and they can't just like wait for someone else to build it so that they can extract from it. Like these systems don't work this way. And I wonder, and I would love to hear anybody else's thoughts about this, how we can sort of hold users responsible. That sounds sort of combative, but like how we can encourage people to sort of take responsibility for their little corner of this ecosystem and have it be more of something like more of a give and take.
I was actually thinking about the same thing. Like, is there like almost like a tokenized solution? I know it's oh my God, why? No, but I was thinking about like what you were saying earlier about DAOs and just about the fractional jobs. And, you know, when it comes to my job, the saying goes, you give the busiest person the task that you want completed because they're going to get it done. And I thought, you know, can we embed that into some sort of like algorithm where if 5 people ask you to do 5 different things and you complete those 5 things, you're required to take a day off. Like you accumulate tokens and they're like, okay, now you can't do any more projects until you take a day off. Like something like that? I don't know.
Like where you get a token every time you take a day off, and those tokens are, you can spend them to earn work days for yourself.
Exactly.
Just flip the whole thing.
I was thinking about this as well. I think the main issue is not many people say no. So community is so valuable. And if you say no to your community, it looks like you don't care about the community. But let's say, for example, you got a Discord of 20,000 people asking you for this, when is it going to get released? And I think too many projects just try and make these people happy. And I've not seen that many projects to just say, no, we're not going to do it. This is probably why DAOs are around, so people can vote on it and whatnot. But I think a lot of projects should just learn how to say no. They're not going to release this feature. They're not going to build it. Maybe they can give a reason why. Maybe not. And the users should basically just accept it and say, okay, the team has made this decision, or the community has made, maybe the DAO has made the decision, but being able to just say no to them. Because if not, it's this infinite, endless loop of projects trying to make the community happy. And I think not many founders want to kind of go out and say, no, the community's wanted this, but we're not going to build it. And I think this is where a lot of this infinite loops come into play. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Saying no is an important thing, both for organizations as for people, as mentioned before. And by the way, for the new people who joined, like this is a fishbowl. So like if you have something to say, you're just a fish swimming here, and then the fishbowl cannot be too full. So there's always one place that stays empty. So if you have thoughts, feel free to join. I think, yeah, the point that you're making about people who are really constantly in this overwhelm vibe and actually not taking care of themselves, I sometimes wonder if it's not, it was mentioned before, like we should all like do meditation, and like when you do meditation, it's good to also do therapy. I also believe in that. Like I think everyone should be in therapy. Basically, it should be like a public good. Like everyone should like have a person, a neutral or an objective, a professional person to talk to. And so if we, like I sometimes think, and this might be a little bit contentious, but like that a lot of people, an above average group of people in this space has mental issues, like serious mental issues in the sense, and that like it was my slide from before, like you know, it's a sick society, and the people who are here realize this, and they're very much triggered about this. They are angry, they're frustrated, and this can also be, you know, often when you get like a sensitivity for things that are just like really fucked up in this world is because maybe in your own life, and because of traumas or all sorts of things, there are things that made you extra sensitive to this. But, you know, you still have to deal with your own trauma and your own things. And many people just don't. And they've exited the system and they're like, we're just going to build this new system and everything is going to be beautiful. But like, you still have to connect with yourself and talk with yourself and like get those things figured out. And if you don't do that, then you end up with situations that you have people who are draining other people's energy. For example, I've seen so many recent examples of this. I was like, but this could be like, this could work so much more efficient. This is not healthy for you. This is not healthy for me. Let's maybe not do this. And to your point there of like, yeah, why do we not deserve this? I think some people here really don't think they deserve this. And this a bit of self-torture. And so please get therapy, everyone. Seriously. Like, I think it would be so much better if we all believe that we deserve that this better world, this utopia that we want to build, that we maybe should start living in it ourselves, and like that we should take a break, that we should see our nephews and our family and be allowed to take a day off, you know, and like we deserve this. We deserve this. We're working hard. And yeah, so I really love that. Any other thoughts?
I actually do. So on the subject of mental illness, like I find it more useful to sort of think of that in the same lens as we do about like neurodiversity.
I was going to say neurodiversity.
Yeah, that like, and I feel like the crypto world in particular, there's all these like autism memes, and there's this sort of embracing of the idea that like, yeah, you're kind of weird, but you'll also have superpowers in a way. And I think that a lot of like functional mental illness works the same way, that like, you know, you're bipolar, you have these amazing bursts of like energy and creativity, and then you need space for something else. Or, you know, whatever it is, maybe like you're incredibly empathetic, but like that comes with some real baggage. Like, so to take a similar approach, and it's, you know, there's always the problem of stigma or whatever, but to think about sort of harnessing whatever superpowers come with whatever is different about you, but then also like that has to be combined with care for the things that are difficult, or for the things that like don't work the same for you as they do for everyone else. So I would like to see us sort of embrace that mentality, not just for autism, but for like all kinds of difference, to like, and I think that we get more out of people when we like embrace their special skills, but also like, you know, care for them when they need something different, or like make room for them to be different in ways that are maybe a little inconvenient.
Yeah, and I deeply agree. And it's funny, like I now noticed, and I often like fall over like these words, but like what you now just said, to get more out of people, like it's just in our vocabulary, but like it's like the extractive thing, like how can we get more out of people? But like ideally it would be like, how can we make those people regenerative in their energy? And that's what we should, like our DAOs and our systems and our people should just be like this thriving, energetic thing that just like becomes always more, and there's an abundance. And that is what I hope that we can work on with DAOs, and yeah, there's a lot to be done there. We're almost at time, but Punkar, go ahead.
Just as you said, basically, like to encourage the superpowers. I think this is also like general problem in the DAOs. Like everyone is trying to do everything, because we are scared that if we delegate to delegate to someone, then like we lose something, some value, something out there. So I think like this is really important, like to see what people are good at and like encourage doing what you are good at and delegate the rest, kind of what you might just not be, no, you might do it, but like it's like someone else can do it maybe better, faster, or has more time. So I think that's something what we are also like should be encouraging.
I think everybody needs to hear this. You don't need to accomplish anything to be worth your life. You are just you. And going back to meditation and practice, one of the things that I do that I learned from like this cartoon called like Midnight Gospel. It's on Netflix. It's awesome. It's like an acid trip with like philosophy injected into it. But what I do is I look at my hand and I try to feel my hand from inside my body. And I tell myself, you don't have to do anything to live. You just have to live. I don't have to be special. I don't have to accomplish anything. I don't have to be the best at anything. I don't have to do anything more for anyone to be worth my life. And I think everybody needs to hear that. Like, you are all good. You did enough. And I recommend meditation, whatever it might be, to visualize something to get you back into this is me and this is my body,
I love that. I think, we cannot not build a better world if we don't believe that the humans who are in it actually deserve to be in it, and that starts with ourselves. So any final thoughts? Or I think this was a beautiful one to close off, actually. So thank you so much, everyone.